Hi, good morning. How is everybody today? And first, before I start, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Please comment below and let me know how I'm doing, and let me know if there's anything you'd like me to discuss in particular. Today, I'd like to discuss about narcissists. Sorry about that. Let's put that off. About narcissists playing the victim and everything. So whatever happens, they will always make themselves out to be the victim. So in every situation, everything, whatever's happening, automatically they will go around. They start with their gaslighting, and they start with the smear campaign, and they will go to everybody around you, your friends, your family, your colleagues, neighbors. In my situation, it was like the doctors, the social services, the police, school, anywhere that they can go and smear you, they can slate you, they can make people doubt you and not believe you, so that your support net, basically it is a way to isolate you, to try and cut you away from everybody. So the support network that you may have around you that can possibly help you and support you and advise you with what to do and so on, and give you some strength and give you some hope, they will try and cut them away one by one. So what they do is they actually make themselves out to be the victim in every situation. So for example, if they're having an affair, they will blame you for having an affair, and they will say that you've been cheating on them in order to also justify the fact that it was okay for them to go and have an affair, because, well, you were cheating on them already. You were treating them like dirt. You were the one that was being abusive to them. You were making their life hell. You were making their life miserable. So from example, from my circumstances, what happened last year was I hadn't cheated on him. We'd been in a marriage for 9 years. I loved this man. He was everything to me. He was more than life itself. I'd prioritized him over myself, my family, my friends, my children, everybody. He was number one in my life. My whole life revolved around this one person. It was like my Prince Charming. He was it. I had been waiting my whole life for this person to come into my life. He's come into my life now, and everything is about him, his preferences, his choices. He chose what time to go to bed. He chose what time to wake up. He chose what we watched on TV. He chose what we ate, whether we ate in, whether we ate out. I mean, he would imply that it was my decision and my choices. He would say that, it's up to you, but actually ultimately, one way or another, it was his decision, his choices, his preferences. If it's something that he didn't like, he would make sure I knew about it, in a way not to directly say no, but indirectly, because he knew that if he said that he didn't like something, I would then say, okay, that's fine, you don't like it, we won't do it. You don't like it, we won't eat it. You don't like it, we won't watch it. And it's the manipulation tactics that the narcissists use, that they automatically manipulate you, knowing exactly what to say, how to say it, which way to say it. And so throughout, especially the last couple of years, he would maintain that everything was my choice, my decision, what I ate, what I wore, who I spoke to, who my friends were, what I did, everything. He would make it sound like it was my decision, but actually, ultimately, he had full control over my life. My life was his. I was his puppet, and I did everything according to him. If I wore something that he didn't like, he made sure I knew about that. He might not necessarily say that looks disgusting, that's ugly. He will say, that doesn't quite suit you. That's what my mum wears. They're the kind of colours my mum wears. They're the kind of styles my mum wears. To the point where I actually took a brand new pair of shoes and left them in Pakistan for his mum and his sister-in-laws, because he made me believe that they were awful, that they were, they just looked like an old person's shoes. And yeah, I've come back from Pakistan and they're out everywhere. They're in fashion at the moment. I could have made use of it. It's a brand new pair of shoes, quite an expensive pair of shoes. I just left there because he told me that it made me look old. I've always worn what I feel comfortable in, what I think suits me, what I like, I don't like wearing styles that make me look fat. Obviously, I expect most women want to look thin and want to look good, want to look younger. So, I don't go for, I would say, mutton dressed as lamb. I'm hoping people don't think that I'm mutton dressed as lamb, that whatever I wear makes me look like I'm trying to compete with the teenagers and the college students and the university students. But I like to look comfortable, and I like to feel free, feel comfortable, feel happy, feel good. Recently I think a lot of the check prints are back out in fashion, and that's the kind of clothes that I would wear when I was at college. So it really reminds me of my college days, because I always had check shirts. I loved my jeans. I had different jeans in different colours, and I loved my check shirts. Now jeggings are in fashion, so you can have jeggings and leggings with them, which in my culture they might say, well, she's got She's been married twice. She's got grown-up children. Her son's married and with expecting a baby. Look at her, you know, walking around jeggings and jeans and, you know, and shirts and stuff. My answer to that is, stuff you. I will wear what I want, when I want, and how I want it. If I feel comfortable in them, I'll wear it. I don't care whether you like it or not. I don't care if you think it's acceptable or not, if it is suitable for my age or not. If I think I look good, if I feel comfortable and I'm enjoying wearing it, I will wear it. Which is a complete contrast to, say, 5 years ago or even last year. You know, I was so self-conscious because the narc made me feel self-conscious. You know, whatever I wore, if I wore something that he didn't approve of, he'd give me the funny look, he'd give me the funny comments, he'd be sarcastic about it, he'd make sure that I knew that it wasn't, you know, acceptable according to him for me to wear them. You know, I've for 10 years, I would say, I haven't worn jeans. You know, I used to love my jeans when I was in college, you know, when I was younger. And yeah, as soon as he came into my life, he made me realize, well, he made sure I knew that he didn't approve of them. You know, my mum's never approved of them, but I still used to wear them even if she didn't approve of them. You know, with longer tops, so it's not like I'm wearing a little tube top or, you know, something that's showing off my body or my assets. But I would make sure it was a looser top, a longer top, you know, something that looked acceptable and, you know, decent, so you're not seeing any of my body. But it's just the fact that the way they manipulate you into doing everything that they want you to do, and then they play the victim and everything, you know, going back to the victim playing. It's, you know, and it's also, you know, they completely turn it around on them. You know, I hadn't cheated on him. I hadn't abused him. I hadn't humiliated him. I hadn't hurt him. And yet, everything I did, he made it sound like I was intentionally humiliating him, hurting him. If I begged and pleaded to his family and his friends for help and support because I didn't know who to turn to. You know, my own family didn't care about me. I knew they didn't care about me. I married him out of my own choice. I could not then go back to them and say, look, he's abusing me, he's beating me, he's swearing at me, he's humiliating me. Who do I talk to? So I used to purposefully message his brothers, his sisters, his sister-in-laws, his friends, his colleagues, anybody that I could or I thought may help me. And I used to beg and plead them. You know, I remember when I was 8 months pregnant and he was kicking me outside my front house because I accidentally picked up his keys by mistake when I was going to my midwife's checkup appointment. And you know, and he needed to go to work. I knew he needed to go to work. I had my 10-year-old, 11-year-old at home at the time. I hadn't said that he needed to stay home and babysit him. I knew I'd be back, you know, and it was literally 5 minutes away. I said, you know, that's fine, you can go to work. He's okay on his own, he can watch TV for a bit. But he automatically assumed that I purposefully picked up his keys to stop him from going to work. I told him I hadn't. Why would I do that? You know, I had my set of keys already in my bag. I accidentally saw his keys and accidentally picked them up thinking I didn't have keys on me. Got to the midwife's appointment, and it wasn't until I was sat inside with the midwife and his phone call started non-stop, one after another. I think it was about 20 phone calls he did. No, phone calls, messages, get the hell back here, you know, you've done it on purpose, you've taken my keys. And I answered the phone at one point. I said to the midwife, look, I better take this call, I don't, you know, he's just not leaving me alone. And I answered the call and he said, you better get back here right now with my keys, you've done it on purpose. And I said, I haven't done it on purpose. I'm sat right in front of the midwife now. I can't come back home. I'll leave the keys at reception if you want to come to the surgery and pick it up. Our surgery is 5 minutes walk away from our home. He could easily walk to the surgery, pick his keys up, go to work. End of story. No. He purposefully harassed me, phoned me, messaged me, threatened me, shouted and swore at me, get back here now, get back here now, you're gonna get back. So the fact that he was doing this and he was being abusive, and it was clear to the midwife that he was being so abusive to me and that this is domestic violence. I didn't realise at the time that it was classed as domestic violence. You know, I just thought that's his behaviour, it's just completely gone nuts. And she referred me to social services. The appointment actually took twice as long because of his behaviour. It actually ended up taking twice as long because because of his behaviour. She referred me to social services, and you know, and it was a case for concern. You know, I was a pregnant woman, 8.5 months pregnant I was, and he was being abusive to me, threatening me, shouting at me, swearing at me, humiliating me. So when I got back home, he was already sat outside on the doorstep, and I went to open the door and he started kicking me from behind. There was a police officer doing door to door, just a few feet away, wasn't that far. And I said to him that, look, there's a police officer there, you better stop. And he said, I don't care, I don't give a shit. And he carried on. And he was swearing at me, he was shouting at me, he was threatening me, he was saying I was doing it on purpose, you know, I just didn't want him to go to work. And I was just beside myself, you know. I opened the door to him, gave him his keys, and then I just drove off because I just didn't know. I was so scared. I was so frightened. I had no idea what was happening. I had no idea why this person was doing this to me. You know, I was 8.5 months pregnant. I had been really ill throughout my whole pregnancy. And it's his baby, and I'm his wife. And why is he doing this? You know, I love him. He's meant to love me. Why would somebody do that to somebody? It's just awful, awful, awful. And then, yeah, I didn't report him. The midwife knew, the consultants knew, you know, they were quite concerned with me after that. And throughout the pregnancy, he had been awful to me throughout the pregnancy. He had, I'd been ill. So as soon as, even before we got pregnant, I'd been ill. I had had a miscarriage a few months before that. It wasn't confirmed, but I had a suspicion that it was a miscarriage. Then I fell pregnant, and almost as soon as I found out I was pregnant, the hyperemesis gravidarum started. So I was being sick for up to 8 times a day. I could not keep anything down, no water, no food, nothing. I was literally just vomiting all the time, non-stop. At one point, I remember I was laid out on the bed upstairs. It was a Wednesday. I don't know why I remember it was a Wednesday. It was a Wednesday, and I was laid up on the bed upstairs, just vomiting, you know, non-stop. I hadn't eaten probably for days. I was so weak. And he was downstairs on his laptop, chatting away online like he does. You know, who knows who he was chatting to? Friends, girls, watch porn, you know, whatever he likes to do. He quite often sat there on the sofa on the opposite side of me watching porn, you know, and if I went around to look, what are you doing, you know, he'd just completely switch screens, so I had no idea what he was doing. He was chatting to girls, you know, I had no idea he was chatting to girls because the screen was away from me, so I couldn't see what he was up to. And yeah, and I'd been ill throughout pregnancy, so this particular day I was laid out on the bed upstairs, really weak from not being able to eat for days, and, you know, vomiting all the time. And I kept messaging it, can you come upstairs? Can you say hello to me? Can you give me some company? Maybe give me something to eat, because I'm starving. I'm struggling to eat, but I'm starving. I need to eat still. And it took me a few messages to ask him and to plead with him, can you come upstairs? You know, I want to see you. I'm feeling lonely upstairs on my own. You know, I had to beg him almost to come upstairs. I had to beg him for something to eat. And I think he stayed about 5 minutes, because obviously he had girls on the go downstairs that he needed to get back to and chat to. You know, he didn't want to porn or whatever it was he was doing. He didn't want to be upstairs with me. You know, I must have looked a right state. You know, I was vomiting and stuff. And it's just the lack of empathy and the lack of emotions. You know, they don't have any emotions. They don't care that you are so ill that, you know, you need help and support. They don't care. However you're feeling, whatever you're doing, they don't care. You know, all that matters to them is their health and well-being, their comforts, their food, their, you know, relaxation, their flirting, whatever else it is they love to do. They want to just do that day in, day out. You are an inconvenience to them. They don't want to have to inconvenience themselves by looking after you or tending to you or, you know, giving you something to eat or talking to you or sitting with you, even 5 minutes throughout the whole day. Even 5 minutes to just sit there and talk to me was too much for him. And this is within a year of us marrying. So we married in April, and this is, say, January, February time the following year. So within a year of our marriage, he doesn't want to be anywhere near me. He doesn't want to have to, you know, look after me or anything like that. As far as he's concerned, he married me for me to look after him. You know, I was like, it was almost like adopting another child. I already had 2 children. I had a 14-year-old and a 7-year-old, and it was like I was adopting another child. And that's what he wanted, a mummy. He just wanted a substitute mummy to look after him, to do everything for him, to mop up after him. He'd literally sit there and look pretty. You know, I'd go to work at 6 o'clock in the morning, come back at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. I'd been shopping, doing whatever, looking after the kids, dropping the kids off to school, doing my work, coming back. And he'd be sat there looking pretty on the laptop, chatting away, waiting for me to come home and give him his breakfast. He hadn't eaten. It was 2 o'clock in the afternoon. He still hadn't eaten. So that was my life. So as soon as I felt ill, it was an inconvenience to him. 4 months of hyperemesis, and I was admitted to hospital a couple of times. I had to be on drips a couple of times from dehydration, vomiting all the time, trips up to A&E really late night, just awful 4 months. As soon as the hyperemesis stopped, I started getting this agonizing pain in my kidney and in my left kidney, It was towards my sort of like rib cage. I couldn't tell. It was my rib cage. It was sort of at the bottom of my rib cage on the left side, just below my chest, below my heart. So we had no idea. It just suddenly would come on. It was just absolute agony. Back again, trips to A&E. Nobody knew what it was. You know, it was crippling pain. I could barely think. He goes to Pakistan. He wanted to go to Pakistan. He said, you know, he made excuses that he's going to Pakistan because, you know, once the baby's here and things, you know, he won't be able to and stuff. Now, when I look back at it, I think he was running away because the fact that I was ill, he was having to look after me and he was having to do things. And he literally ran away because he didn't want to have to do that, this kind of thing. So he went actually for 2.5 months, I think it was. He went in March. He didn't get back till June. He just left me. And I was taking trips up to A&E with this agonizing pain that they still hadn't diagnosed. I had no idea what it was. And I remember one day I was in A&E and he phoned me, or I phoned him, and I was messaging or something. And I told him I was in A&E and I was on the phone to him, and he screamed down the phone at me. He humiliated me. He slaughtered me. How dare you tell me you're A&E? You know, what am I meant to do here for you? You know, you're causing, like, basically I was causing him an inconvenience by telling him that I was in A&E, in agony, in pain, with this pain that I had no idea what it was, and it was scary, and I was on my own. You know, I'd left my other children with my mum, and he was screaming down the phone at me from Pakistan, and I was in tears in A&E, thinking, what kind of person does this? I'm pregnant with your baby, I'm ill, I'm in agony, I'm in A&E, and you're screaming down the phone at me? And those kind of things continued throughout the pregnancy, throughout the 9 years of my life. Alright, signing out now. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Please let me know what you think. Please get in touch. You know, join my Facebook support group, Phoenix Rising. I'd love to see you all on there. Take care, stay safe, and speak to you soon. Bye.